With legacy media groups under pressure to produce profits in their streaming divisions, many are turning to licensing old TV shows and movies to Netflix, boosting programming offerings for the streaming giant. So who wins the most in the latest streaming war development? Yahoo Finance's Alexandra Canal joins us with more. Ali, it seems like we're coming full circle from these platforms who didn't want Netflix having their content as they were working on their own platforms to now here.
Yeah, it sounds pretty familiar, right, Rochelle? But let's think back to how we got here in the first place. So Netflix, obviously one of the first main streaming platforms, hosted a bunch of shows, licensed a bunch of those shows from those legacy media giants. However, once those companies began launching their own streaming platforms, we saw that content turn exclusive and be pulled from Netflix. However, flash forward a couple years later, we're seeing those same companies under pressure to produce streaming profits. Netflix, by the way, is the only streaming giant that remains profitable. So now those legacy media companies are selling a lot of that content back to Netflix. Warner Brothers Discovery, for example, has sold Insecure, 6 Feet Under, Band of Brothers, all to Netflix. So Netflix, really a big benefit in this licensing boom, which is great when you think about the content pipeline, especially in the wake of the double strike in Hollywood. The writer strike has officially ended, but the actor strike is still ongoing. However, there also are a few risks to Netflix when we think about licensing down the line. Wall Street analysts have said that that could potentially impact their cash flow. It could impact some of those margins, especially if you couple that with some of the other initiatives that Netflix is leaning into, like gaming. So I think those metrics are going to be really important in the quarters to come. Free cash flow, margin guidance, revenue guidance. But in the meantime, it's clear that this licensing experiment is here to stay. And Rochelle, I don't know if you tuned in to Suits. That was a show that was originally an NBC Universal production. They sold the rights to Netflix. Netflix debuted the show in June, and we saw this big boom on the streaming platform and this big resurgence. So very clear that the Netflix effect is here to stay. However, it's a little unclear what that means for the future of all of these companies, especially as the streaming wars really evolve.
Allie, we've got Netflix results on tap tomorrow. What's the one number that you're going to be looking for?
The one number I'm looking for is ARM, or average revenue per member, also known as ARPU. This is expected to be flat to slightly down in the quarter compared to the prior year period. And this is a number I'm watching because Netflix is expected to add 6 million new subscribers thanks to that password sharing crackdown. But if that ARM number continues to be pressured, that's going to be a concern for investors. We know that some of their initiatives, like advertising, for example, that is a really slow build, and it's impacting revenue, impacting metrics like ARM. And I think we're going to need a little more color on that tomorrow on the call. So that's probably the number one metric that I'm having my eye on.
Okay, we'll all be watching. Allie Canal staying on top of that for us. Thanks so much.